I'm like, hello, and welcome back to Nadya's Identity Files. I didn't get a proper countdown right up in there.
Sorry.
But it's just because we were pondering so deeply. So, like, you know, it was all internalized. That's all.
Yeah, we were definitely thinking about our identity and the identity of war.
Absolutely. So I want to continue this conversation. Obviously, Brenna and I were just going into all of the different things that need to start happening to kind of open up the dialogue and the conversation about this culture that we are so indoctrinated by, this culture of war. But how do we start doing that, and how do we work with people who are resistant to having this conversation? Because there are many. Yes, ma'am.
Ask questions.
Yeah, questions.
You can't force anybody. You can't force a horse to drink water. So the only thing that you can do is like find out why. And how do you find out why? Like if we use Trump's campaign as a fine example, what did he do? He listened to the people that didn't think that they were being heard.
And then he stopped listening.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying he built a campaign around the people that felt like they weren't being heard, right? So how do we talk to people that felt like they haven't been heard? You have to start listening, which is the key to communication, actually. It's not talking, it's listening. We have to start a conversation, but then we have to listen to the response.
And what's a really brilliant way of starting a conversation? With art, with your work, with you know, even this platform, to get people stimulated to talk.
I think we can't be afraid to express ourselves and then not be afraid of hurting someone's feelings. And I think that's what happens is we feel as though other people are offended by the same things that offend us. So what happens is we put up barriers to communication. And what we need to have is open channels for communication and not be so easily offended, but willing to find out why this horse isn't drinking. An
open-mindedness, which is a different way of thinking, which our culture doesn't necessarily accept. We automatically point fingers. So it's like literally changing your mindset. It's a renaissance of the mind. It's becoming conscious and aware.
I heard that in the green room, and I love that expression you use, the renaissance of the mind. It's so apropos for what we need as a culture. We've been dealing with my entire lifetime, and most, I believe, our folks' lifetimes, going back to our grandparents, of a military-industrial complex where our entire economy and the global economy is based on death and destruction. Mm-hmm. So we need to shift that, and we need to do it as a culture.
Right.
And I think Brenna very, very appropriately is addressing this as a real campaign that we all should be a part of.
And this is incredibly important, but being a pragmatic person and realizing that even if, say, hopefully, fingers crossed, we all join together, band together, and start to address these issues and develop some level of harmony, you know, clearly there is a lot of bureaucracy in this country, and there is, you know, a certain elite running the country, and war is it's a money factory. It's a fact. Money.
Well, we all actually benefit from it, and we don't want to admit it. It makes us feel uncomfortable. We actually are enjoying a lot of the oil and the cars that are going by.
Can I ask you a question? Can you please tell me how we benefit from war?
No, we are materially enjoying the benefits of war, but we don't acknowledge the pain and suffering it caused for us to enjoy these cars on the street.
Right. But what I'm trying to do, and that's absolutely correct.
And that's where the communication and the gap needs to be bridged so that we can see, whoa, by not quickly going to a hybrid, I'm actually contributing to us tapping the earth like a junkie for oil every day.
But let's for a moment move away from the collective we, which is absolutely important to be aware of, because yes, we are, you know, earlier today I was like, you know, one love, one life, you know, going into my little hippie spiel, but it's true. We are all here in this together, right? In this thing called life. It is what it is. But there's also the they, and I'm not a big fan of, you know, innocuous, like very vague statements, we, they, but you know, we're using this in a sense to kind of just like approach the issues from a way that's accessible. But so when we're thinking about the they, let's think about
individual enlightenment, collective individual enlightenment.
The administration or those elite people that are at the top. How can we how would you suggest reaching them? Would you think that if we all come together and unify, that there's a chance of taking down their desire and their mission, obviously,
it would
to continue?
Yes, it is, but it would require people not be afraid, people to do what our great-grandparents and grandparents did, and to stand up in the face of robber barons and walk out and suffer in the short term for greater long-term gains in areas of organized labor, in areas of dialing back and isolating ourselves from war globally. So, in returning the Department of Defense to the act of defense and not offense. So I think a lot of that is going to take things like what Brenda's doing, campaigns to educate people, to make them aware that their individual life choices are impacting the outcomes that we're experiencing and people's lives overseas that we don't necessarily want to hurt.
So,
absolutely.
My music video,
that was beautiful.
The reason that I stayed
the
reason that I chose to stay on the screen the entire time and have it projected on me is the idea that no matter where you stand or where you are, you cast a shadow. So here's what I'm saying. We can't change anybody's minds. We can start a conversation and we can stop propagating the hatred side of it. So when it happens and when it's visible, start asking questions. So when you said that we profited from war, or that we had we gained effects from it, somebody else said that to me and I said, how? And then I started asking them why. And I wanted them to get deeper, because in reality, the cost of what has happened and the effects of it are far worse. Right now, there are, and this has happened more than once, where children completely lose their identity. Because what is identity? It is your culture. It's where you come from. If you can't show your culture and be proud of it, then what is your identity? The whole identity of a war child, they go through so much because they don't even know who they are, what they represent, and they can't represent it. So we can't change the mindset of a whole bunch of people, but we can plant the seeds that can be watered by our talking.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. And the choices we make, the changes we make in the decisions, whether we decide to bike or skate to work versus driving, whether we decide to give to campaigns like yours to educate people so they can make those
intelligent. And I like to think that the more people that are having these conversations and asking these questions, answering these questions, and engaging in a dialogue, that the elected officials will start to listen, or we will make them listen.
The unfortunate part, though, is if you look at the average American life, people don't get the opportunity to have these intellectual conversations, which is why I was saying that even though we're all angry and we're all yelling, everybody's actually communicating. Which I work in a dispensary. Every person comes in and guess what they do? They talk about politics, which has never happened. You have a whole bunch of people talking about so even though it's not good communication, it's communication.
And that makes absolute sense. They're talking about politics, given dispensary, they're just Proposition 64.
Well, we're not even talking about marijuana when they come in. They're talking about just the general effect of the society and how people aren't
and they're
happy.
Super high. And they're high.
No, not all the time.
They should be high. Can you just keep that image for me? It's just too awesome. I love imagining people being high and blowing clouds and having this conversation. I know I like to do that.
Well, I think that 420 has always been one of the flags, the green flag of peace and liberty.
Totally.
So we certainly should
absolutely
be glad for NORML and those who've
wonderful.
championed the war against drugs is almost over,
and
that's really important. Talking about identity of war. That the fact the war on drugs is coming to an end means that war can come to an end.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter where these conversations happen, whether in the dispensary, whether they're on the subway, whether they're on social media, but they do need to happen everywhere. And you draw a really good point about, a lot of people don't have the access to have these dialogues. So it's about, obviously when we're thinking about re-strategizing for the campaign, how can we reach the people who might not be online?
Art, which is what I'm saying. SNL now is going out on Trump all crazy. Everything that you see is all about politics. You turn on Twitter, you have that guy from GQ talking about every single thing that's wrong. That's what I'm saying is uniting us. We have to use that, but we have to use it in a way that we stop watering the hatred of the past and start using it to plant the seeds of the future. We do not have to think like our forefounders. We do not have to believe that there's always a threat. We do not have to believe that there are people out to get us. Yes, and it all just starts with a conversation. And it's not actually a conversation. It's actually listening.
But these conversations can also take place on the street because not everyone even has cable.
Everywhere.
They need to happen everywhere.
Or on Nadia's Facebook wall.
On my face. Be careful about that, y'all. I mean, by all means, you can start it. come on down, as long as you both are going to be participating.
I'll be there to defend
sure.
you.
Hey, I'll be,
I'll troll away the trolls. I'm known to do so.
Okay, well, if you want to be like the go-to, like that'll be your role, like troll blocker.
There you go.
And you can be my conversation stimulator.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm good stimuli.
Totally.
I'm the size of like a stimuli cell.
You were like 500 stimuli cells. Like you have just. Brenna has just amazing energy, and she's
incredible identity from both of you ladies. Thank you
and
again
you
for having
me.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're all taking our art in different directions, but it's all connected, and we're all connected. You're all connected to each other. It's Valentine's Day. Go out and show a stranger some love. Ask them a question that will make them feel good about themselves. Pay them a compliment, and just keep talking, but keep talking in such a way that leads with empathy, because when we don't have empathy and we're just talking for the sake of talking, we will get nowhere fast. So please do that. Not for me, not for us, but for yourself and for the world at large.
For yourself is a very good one.
So much love. Happy Valentine's Day and take care.